Welcome everyone to this playthrough of Rallyman GT. We are at Silverstone, of course, home of Formula 1. We will be racing as the Mercedes today in dry conditions, trying to set a decent qualifying time. This is the grid so far. I've rolled for the AI and the Red Bull has a provisional pole with Ferrari in second, McLaren in third, Lotus in fourth, and Renault in fifth. But let's start, shall we, with this being my first turn dice. Attempting to keep in fourth past the first corner, whilst rolling flat out. I of course made it and found myself in fourth gear, but I've got two very tricky slow corners to navigate next, and as I need the focus, I will just roll flat out yet again. I do easily make it through though, but now I have got a bit of a conundrum as I want to get up to sixth gear to give myself a great lap time, but I am slightly worried about the braking coming up, so I'm being cautious and attempting to stay in fifth, but I am rolling, of course, flat out yet again. So I do manage it, of course, but now here's a lot of downshifting to be done as I need to get through these solo corners. Straights are fast in Silverstone, but the corners are deadly, and it's going to play havoc with my final time, but I'm hoping my focus tokens will help as I'm rolling flat out yet again. So now I need to consider the upcoming corner as I want to be accelerating flat out of it, and I feel going in fourth here will give me the best dice to do so next go, along with me rolling flat out again. I do of course make it with ease, and now I'm set up well for the fast exit I wanted, but I will be rolling these individually with that brake dice I've now managed to get. So I do manage it, of course, and this is how I'm dealing with the quick left to rights in the chicane, hoping I end up in fourth by the end, ready to start accelerating down that straight next turn as I go flat out yet again. So now as I'm in fourth, I can attempt a great slingshot onto the straight, bringing me into sixth gear, but I have to be careful now. Near the end of the lap, as we have some tricky slow corners coming up, so I'm going flat out again for the focus token gain. And now I'm here. I need to think a few moves ahead, as I need a great exit to propel myself around the last few turns. And so this is how I'm attempting to do it. Rolling individually and using my earned focus to guarantee my braking into that corner. And my God, was I glad I used that focus as I was so close to spinning out. The rear wheels kicked out due to a bit of understeer, but we maintain the racing line and attempt to carry on with me rolling flat out again, as I think this shouldn't be much of a problem. And it's not. We easily propel ourselves into the final corner. All we need to do now is bring it home rolling flat out. And we do so with ease, crossing the finish line with a boatload of focus tokens, as we were very ballsy with those rolls at times. And so now all we have to do is figure out our time and see where we will be placed on the grid for the race. But even with all our focus tokens, we are only good enough for third on the grid. 3:55 was our time. Very respectable, I feel, for my first qualifying. Second row isn't bad. It will give us a nice entry into that first corner, hopefully. And so let's get on to it. The Silverstone Grand Prix. And here we are. It's a beautiful day here in England. Bit chilly, so track temperatures might have required the drivers to switch on those tyre temps a little bit more than they wanted, but we have 2 laps around Silverstone to complete. On soft compounds for this sprint race, with no one wanting to box, getting a great turn into the opening first few corners could dictate the winner here. And our grid for this sees Red Bull sitting on pole, Ferrari in second, Mercedes at the head of the second row, along with McLaren in fourth. Then on the back row we have the Lotus in fifth and Renault right at the back. So with the formalities over, it's time for 5 red lights and the start of the Silverstone Grand Prix. And it is an action-packed first corner as Red Bull cuts inside the racing line, blocking off the Ferrari and forcing it to just go that little bit slower as the other cars all bunch up behind. Into the second turn though, there's a lot of fighting going on in that midfield with some potential outside overtakes likely to occur as Red Bull maintains its lead. But onto the third corner, the Mercedes gets it all wrong, locking up at the sharp left-hander and so gets easily overtaken on the outside by those midfield cars, and it could be curtains for them now as they have so much traffic to deal with. But that fighting is giving clean air to both the Red Bull and Ferrari, who have stormed ahead of the pack. Into the next turn though, uncharacteristically, the Red Bull locks up and almost spins out due to the pressure he's under from the Ferrari, as the Mercedes, wanting to distance himself from the pack and get the jump into the next few tight corners, puts his foot down, knowing he will need to brake hard on his upcoming lunge. But the Mercedes goes long around the corner due to that heavy downshift and thus isn't able to get the best exit going into the tight right-hander, meaning he gets caught up in traffic yet again as they front two storm down that straight. And the Ferrari must have really spooked the Red Bull driver as he locks up yet again, meaning the Ferrari is going faster into the next corner and will no doubt take the lead of this race as the Mercedes opens up its throttle down the straight and tries to pull away from that midfield pack. And going into the chicane, the Ferrari gets the inside line, meaning they now lead the Silverstone Grand Prix as the Mercedes pulls away even further from the pack thanks to a well-focused downshift into second gear from 6th. The Ferrari maintains its lead going into the back corners, which can prove tricky as the cars at the back speed up once again, hoping to jostle for a bit of better position. But the Lotus speeds too fast down the chicane and spins out of control, ending up on the gravel where he has to unbeach himself, meaning the Renault can easily overtake him as the Mercedes really books it down that straight and wants to get a decent shot through that last few corners as he's hoping to catch up with the front two. Now he's all but secured some clean air. And the race now has really started to develop. We're starting to see potentially the finishing positions as the Ferrari crosses the line to end the first lap. The Red Bull pressuring right behind, hoping for a costly mistake as the Mercedes gets a great slingshot through the free-flowing right to left and goes into the last bends as the Lotus gets itself back on track and has to start all over again. On to the next part of the race, the status quo is all but maintained, but the Merc had to go and slow down and has now invited the overtake from that McLaren. But oh my god, the Ferrari, under pressure from the Red Bull, takes the corner way too tightly and loses the back end on the apex, spinning out and all but securing a Red Bull victory now as at the back, the Lotus spins out yet again due to trying to overtake the Renault on cold tyres and is forced to retire as he has damaged his gearbox and sees no point in continuing after hitting that tyre wall. So with the Lotus out and the Ferrari getting back on track, the Red Bull storms into the lead and the Mercedes senses an opportunity to get that second place as the McLaren and Renault both fight for fourth. And as the Mercedes focuses through the braking of the corner, he manages to get a super fast exit down the straight, overtaking the Ferrari and blocking it off from re-overtaking as the Red Bull pulls ahead and the Renault has a great shot of overtaking that McLaren. The Red Bull just easily pulls away in that clean air and the Ferrari gets caught behind the Mercedes once more. That Merc will hopefully be hard to overtake now with the tyres still being cold on the Ferrari, and it should see a great battle through the upcoming straights as the Renault and McLaren battle at the back still. The Red Bull has clean air, so as long as he doesn't do anything stupid, he should be fine. And the Mercedes starts to pull away just ever slightly from that Ferrari. But that Ferrari will not be hesitating anymore. The driver is focused and wants to reclaim second at least. So the Merc is having to maintain a faster speed than they would otherwise want. It's risky, but it might just pay off if they want that second place. And they are now leaving the Renault and McLaren for dust. But the Mercedes slows down to second gear going through the chicane. He couldn't maintain the speed, so has to act as an almost mobile chicane himself, forcing the Ferrari to take the wider line and then try to hit them on the switchback. And what a move it is as the Ferrari locks up going the long way around the Merc, so ends up coming out of the corner much slower than he wanted, meaning the Merc pulls off an amazing 300 IQ switchback, getting a great speed down the straight, which he should be able to focus and maintain on those back corners. As Red Bull comes around the bend to win the Silverstone Grand Prix, and the Ferrari is becoming increasingly frustrated with the Mercedes as he positions his car to try and maintain that second place. With the Merc covering off the inside line, forcing the Ferrari around the outside, but the Merc now has track position to go faster out of that corner, meaning he takes second place and the Ferrari ends up in third. Meanwhile, the Renault and McLaren are still jostling for fourth place, and the McLaren bottles it on the last bend, spinning out in front of a packed out crowd, giving the French team Renault the advantage to go faster through the last few bends, and the British crowd here are going ballistic as the Renault crosses the line for fourth place, ending up being a bad day all around for British teams as the Austrians and Germans have won, with the Italians finishing in third. I hope you've enjoyed watching this as much as I have actually been playing it. I absolutely adore this game. Yes, it's got random dice movement, but with the bot car rules I got off BGG, I just get excited to play this one. I feel like a kid again, playing Waddington Formula 1 solo at my nan's house every Sunday all them years ago. And the fact I can literally create any track I want by using the tile-based layouts means I can play all the F1 circuits I love and have a great time. I wish my son was into racing, as this would be our Scalextrics of choice, but alas, I'm on my own in the kitchen having a great time and annoying the wife whenever I get excited at a failed dice roll. Seeing that Ferrari roll so badly that once got me so giddy, and I knew I had to try and snatch second place. Didn't think I'd maintain it, but did manage to. And I would love more cars for this, I feel. There are 9 potential places on this grid, and I feel it would make the race a lot closer if they were full. Something to look into, I guess. But for now, please like this video and drop me a sub for support. Thanks for watching.